All right, everyone, welcome. In this video, we'll be making a screen door. Give you a little explanation here. We had a jamb on the right, which will be mounted to the opening of the house, and then we got the door itself. Pretty simple: 4 rails, 2 stiles. Overall dimensions are what, 2 foot 10? What is that? It's 34 and 9/16 by 6 foot 8 is 80 and 7/16. The construction on this door is a combination of kind of half lap joints. You can see the rails all have a rabbet cut in the end of them, and then the stiles have one long continuous rabbet cut on the inside. Um, and those have a little bit of a half lap, and then all the joints get reinforced with some loose tenons. And the when you cut these rabbets on the stiles and the rails, the leftover material is used as the screen mold in future steps. So let's go ahead and get to it. So all the pieces have been rough cut to width and length, and now I'm over at the joiner getting one edge and face flat, and then passing them through the planer to get them thickness before eventually getting them set up on my bench here and sticker to let them dry for, I don't know, maybe a day or two before I come back out and cut them to final size. And of course, after a long milling session, got to empty the dustbin. All right, so I'm setting this all up to cut the long grooves in all the pieces. And so I think this was a 3/8 by 1 inch groove cut out, and then it frees a small piece of material. And I think you might be able to notice me take that over to my bench and set it back with the piece I cut it from, so I can keep track of try to grain match after I get the door all put together. And the last thing I'm doing here is setting up and cutting the jamb and cutting a large groove in that has to fit around some of the existing door frame trim.
All right, so I have, let's say I'm about to cut all my rails to their final length. I know exactly what that length's going to be. So of course I have a plan, and that plan, is close enough, but it's not exact because, during milling or during sizing all these things change a little bit. So what I have here is I have one stile, my second stile, and then I have the door jamb itself sitting up against this. And I know what my opening of the door has to be, I know what the overall door width plus the jamb has to be based on the opening of the house. But so what I can do is I can push all these together and take an overall measurement, and I'm at 9 1/4 of an inch. And so I can use that number and subtract it from my total opening. So my total opening's got to be 35 13/16 minus 9 3/16. And then I have this area here where the screen door recesses into, but it's also a tongue for a half lap. So I have to add these two back to my rails. So overall I get 28 5/8. And that is what I cut all of these pieces to their final length. And next up, we are going to cut out those tongues on each end of the rail that will kind of rest in here like half lap. So here we go. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get the screen door glued up next. I'm using 10mm loose tenons. I did sand off the kind of the registration edges on the dominoes here on the belt sander. Also managed to get my knuckle, which kind of hurt and was rather stupid. But we're gonna glue them up in the rails first, and then we'll go ahead and glue them up into the stiles and get this thing clamped up. So here we go. So the door was in the clamps for about an hour and a half. While it was while the glue was drying, I was actually working on the jamb piece, really just adding a large round over to the interior side, and then cutting the notch for the top part of the door opening. And then I was laying out where my hinges have to go. And I was also setting up my hinge mortising tool, or template, I guess, that we'll be using to mortise in the hinges for the door and the jamb. But before we can do any of that, we do need to cut the door to its final height, and then also do any type of small squaring adjustments we have to make. So we're going to use the big drywall square here. I'd like to reference the hinge side when I can. I don't know, just makes sense to me. And then we'll lay out the lines for top and bottom, and we will cut it with track saw. So here we go. All right, so we're about to wrap up the screen door, at least for the shop side of the screen door build. 3 coats of finish. I used the PPG Prolux, which used to be a Sikkens brand, but now PPG has it. Prolux, really enjoyable to use actually. Not near as frustrating as spar urethane. Lays down really nice. Stays a little bit, I'll say, wetter, if that makes sense, so you can kind of blend in where you might have some, like when you do the styles, when you do the rails and then styles, you can kind of blend in this edge here and it doesn't get so tacky real quick like Spar did. Wow, that's embarrassing. Okay. So we're gonna rub out the finish a little bit so it's too glossy for my taste, and also it's got a little some nibs in there. So I'm gonna rub it down with some steel wool, and then we are going to stretch the screen and apply the screen mold. So here we go.
All right, everyone, that's going to do it for this video. I appreciate you watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments. I'd be happy to answer. Have a good one.